Jeepers creepers, where'd you get them peepers? Jeepers Creepers 3 is the third movie. It follows the first Jeepers Creepers movie that starred Justin Long in this horror film that was about a creeper that stalked people in order to eat them, in order to survive. The creeper himself is one of these demons that comes back every other so many years, very similar to It in a way. The first movie was all about mystery and what's going on. Who is this really strange creature that's just always in the dark and you never see him? The second movie takes place after the third, so that's why I'm watching the third first. In this movie, it really centers on a group of policemen who are trying their darndest to figure out where the creeper is and how to ultimately stop it. They get a clue as to what the creeper is and ultimately how to stop it when a hand falls out of the sky. A magical hand that tells the origin story of the creeper. Don't expect to know what the origin is. They put it in there as a reason for the movie to exist. It's a MacGuffin. You never know what they see. Kind of a big disappointment, and it's a big part of what the movie clings on to in order for the plot to make sense. The only thing they had to do to make this movie 1,000 times better is for the audience to have seen what the characters see when they touch that hand. But they don't. I'll tell you the coolest thing about the movie, before we go into anything, that it takes place directly after the events of the first movie. Immediately. And it also ends immediately right before the second movie. That being said, let's get into it. Starting off with the people category, we're looking at the acting, which was specifically and particularly bad in most cases. Most of the actors, for some reason or other, trying way too hard to be serious, and it comes off really badly. The next time you see this cop, it's like, oh god, here he goes, and then it's a soap opera with him talking. Zero. When it comes down to the characters, nothing memorable comes down to who these people are. 1. The casting is directly connected to the acting. Nothing here is all that great. 0 for that too. How about their importance to everything? I think the cops all blend together as far as who's the most important there. I think the teenagers and the kids and everybody who's getting victimized by the creeper, they all kind of blend together. And of course there's the creeper, because everybody's really just blending in together. 1. This isn't a chemistry heavy film in the first place. Just typical. 1. Writing score. Nothing about the dialogue really stands out here. Just basic typical stuff. 1. As a balanced movie, I think it could have easily been a little bit more balanced, but it kind of feels convoluted regardless, because it's focusing on these kids here, it's focusing on this cop here, it's focusing on this crazy lady and weird visions she's having, and it just doesn't feel, as I said before, fluid. So 1. There are interesting things about the story that I definitely appreciated in this movie. I will talk about that a little bit later in the specialty category, but as it is now, there's nothing that's truly deep or meaningful about it. There's no reason that the movie even exists if you really think about it and come down to it. 1. How original is it? Well, I like what they did in some regards, but for the most part, there's nothing, absolutely nothing about this movie that feels original. Then again, it did try a little bit with the hand thing that I mentioned before, and because of that, I'll give it 1. Do I consider it interesting? Yes and no. Yes, it's interesting because it is, Jeepers Creepers 3. No, it's not interesting because it was unneeded. There's nothing about the movie that'll make you love it and want to buy it or anything like that. So, as far as interesting goes, I'm only going to give it 1 BTS score. The visuals weren't that great, specifically when it came down to the creeper. The creeper has never looked amazing. A lot of the visuals specifically turned me off because they weren't focusing so much about making Creeper this mysterious being anymore, so he's always walking around in the light, and he doesn't look the greatest, and that is directly contributed to the visuals. 0. Directing, what can I say? It basically feels like an average directing job that really anybody could have done. 1. The editing, I can't really say anything different. Editing could have been done by anybody. 1. I will say it's as advertised, so 2 out of 2. Nothing about the music stood out for me. I won't be buying a soundtrack or listening to the score or anything like that. 1. Narrative arc score. The problem with the introduction is that the first movie is the introduction. Period. This is directly after the last scene of the first movie. So I'm only going to give introduction 1 because there was an introduction. It was just years and years ago. It was called Jeepers Creepers 1. The inciting incident isn't as clear as it probably should have been. I think it probably has something to do with that magical hand that can see the past. However, it doesn't feel concrete. It doesn't feel like something absolute happened that changed the direction of the movie in a way that you can't come back from. It doesn't feel like that at all. It's just like a plot point. It doesn't feel like an inciting incident. For that, I'm only going to give it 1. Plenty of obstacles. Obviously, this is Jeepers Creepers. We have a guy that goes around killing people. How can you not call that obstacles? 2. The climax, is it a great culmination of everything in between? No, because like I said, it connects it directly into the second movie that came out. There was a climax, it just didn't feel like it should, so only 1 for that. For the following action, does everything calm down and return to a new norm? No, it calms down, but doesn't return to a new norm because all it returns to is the second movie. I'm only going to give that 1 out of 2 possible stars. Entertainment. As far as a entire rewatch scenario, when you plan to do this whole marathon experience with Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 and 3, you kind of have to watch 3 before 2 just because it feels better that way. So if I was ever to rewatch the series as a whole, yes, I would consider this rewatchable. On its own though, probably not. 1. Do I consider it fun? I think that it is fun. I had a fun time while watching, believe it or not. It's probably for the wrong reasons, as I was making fun of all the overacting, so I will give that 2 out of 2. Impulse to buy? Absolutely not. 0. Impulse to talk about it other than this review? 0. Does it suck the audience in? I think for some things that feel fresh and new to the series, yes. But nothing else shouts that this is a movie that really sucks you in, because it really doesn't. 1. Specialty. Alright, so you want to know how this feels as a part of the franchise. Does it feel like it fits in? In so many ways, absolutely. Like I said, the very end of the first movie to the very beginning of the second. 10 out of 10. As a sequel, does it add anything new with that magical hand that sees the past origin of the Creeper? Yes, but because they don't follow through with it, and because the movie never really needed to be made in the first place, I'm going to have to only give this half points and say 5 out of 10 possible stars. As a horror film, I'll say what I've said before, it is horror adjacent. It's not scary, it's just bloody. I'll give this half points as well and say 5 out of 10 possible stars. As a mystery, I think in terms of genres, the mystery is probably referring to the hand thing, but because they never follow through with what the hand is showing anybody, and because the mystery of the Creeper is already over and done with, there's nothing that feels mystery related to me at all in this movie, and I have to give this 0 out of 10 possible stars. Is it halfway decent? When I ask if it's halfway decent, I have to think about the target audience and if the filmmakers made a movie that they intended to make. In this instance, I think they did and they did not. They did in a way that fans of the series get to see Jeepers Creepers again, but I think they wanted to make something that is either equally as good or better than the first and second movie. And ultimately, that's not what they did here. The main problem they had was probably with the acting. Because I don't think they did exactly what they needed to do in order to make the movie that they wanted to make, I'm only giving half points here and saying 5 out of 10 possible stars. If we add up everything together, we get 48 out of 100 possible stars. 48%, which means it's not the greatest movie. I don't think I'll really be seeing it ever again unless I'm watching a full marathon between the movies, which even that seems rare to me. So, 48. Guys, tell me what you thought about Jeepers Creepers 3 in the comments down below. Follow me on Trek.tv and Twitter at username IAMDWG. Go to DaveExamines.movies.com to see my latest end of the year movie awards for 2017. That's up now. And for YouTube, you know you can subscribe to me, hit that like button, and hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my next movie review, which of course will be tomorrow when I review Jeepers Creepers 2, which immediately follows Jeepers Creepers 3. Until then, guys, peace out.